I'm Mark Causey. With me is Francesca Maria
Hello.
from Black Cat Publishing. We're here to talk about Black Cat Tales, an anthology of black cats. And with us is Ash Fanglore, one of the authors in our book.
Hi, Ash. Welcome.
Hi, thank you.
So I wanted to start by reading your bio, and I have to put my old lady glasses on to do it so I don't butcher it. Ash Fanglore, he, she, they, is an autistic queer originally from the moody Appalachian Mountains, but now residing in a small Paris village in England with his husband, kitties, Agatha Rose, and Harrowhawk, the squirrel, and Chow Chow Zhongti.
Shanti.
In their free time, Ash runs D&D for teens at the local library, plays computer games, tries new foods, and tries to gain access to as many libraries as possible on the Libby app. I do that too. This is her first published piece, but you can still find more of Ash at ashfanglore.wordpress.com and Instagram or Twitter at ashfanglore, period.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So Ash, how long have you been writing?
Since I knew how to write, pretty
Amazing.
much.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So we were floored by your story,
Mhm.
Marrow, and we cannot believe this is your first published piece because it's so beautifully written. It's such a pulling at your heartstrings stories that we absolutely loved it the first time we read it. So without giving too much away, could you give
Mhm.
us a little synopsis of the story, Marrow?
So, Marrow is about a black cat who's not really a black cat, um, or who maybe used to be a black cat, and the person that it loves and wants to protect.
Love it. Beautiful. And it's one of the few sci-fi stories that we have in the anthology.
I have so much to say about it. First of
Yeah.
all, it's one of my favorite stories of the whole book, and
Mhm.
and of course we chose this story, so we like to think that they're all great stories. But it was one of my
Mhm.
favorites. I'm a big science fiction fan, and I love the story because it hits on all of the things that I like about science fiction. It's it's such a great sci-fi is a testament to the person and to the society, to the world at large, and you really nail so many emotional levels. It was great. I just loved it.
And
Thanks.
we're just gonna keep gushing at you.
I like
And I love how, you're dropped in, the reader's dropped into this world that with very few lines, you created this vivid
Hmm.
reality.
Hmm.
We don't know exactly what's going on, but there's enough clues that you can kind of put pieces together as there's something big happening. But it's really ultimately about the love and the affection and the loyalty between cat owner and cat creation. I love it.
Yeah, thanks.
So do you write a lot of sci-fi? What kinds of things do you write?
Sci-fi fantasy on all under the umbrella of speculative fiction, really.
Yeah.
Um, I've done some more regular kind of fiction, but it all has some undertone of fantasy magic type of things.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I really like science fiction. This is gonna maybe be embarrassing as somebody who wrote a science fiction story, but I prefer science fiction films to
Mhm.
science fiction books,
I get
and
that.
Hmm.
they're yeah, I like high fantasy books.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't know, science fiction has such a I don't know, astute aesthetic because maybe you're on a different planet, a spaceship, whatever, and that's something that a reader can't imagine in the same way because we've
Mhm.
never experienced it. But like Lord of the Rings, we've probably all been into a forest.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's great, it's super cool, and I love them,
Mhm.
but it's easy to visualize. Or like, a tower. We've seen towers, we know what that is,
Right.
but we don't know what a weird post-apocalyptic alternate reality might be.
Mhm. It poses a really interesting challenge for the author
Hmm.
to create a space, which I think you really did well with your story, Marrow. Again, just sprinkling a couple of descriptions, and that's enough to kind of give a feel of this kind of sterile yet toxic environment that you created. So job well done.
I think that's one of the things I love about science fiction, but again, one of the challenges for the writer that you're talking about is more so than most genre fiction, the world building is really important. In horror, it's more about the emotion and the mood. You know, everybody knows what an axe is, but in science fiction, you have to build all of those things, and as well as your characters and all that. And you do such a great job of that. It all comes together so well. And as you say, I agree with you. For the most part, I love sci-fi books, but I would agree with you that sci-fi movies can be a little more fun in the way, like we're talking about, in the way that they show the world and the big twist that always comes in sci-fi and whatever.
Mhm.
Movies can be a little more shocking. It's also, I'd like to say, why I prefer short stories to novels, mostly because of my attention span. But
Yeah.
and your story is a great example of it, that in a minimum space you can build the world and the characters and the conflict and the emotion, and you can give everything you need in a story and deliver it in a short space, and let the reader get on to the next story.
Yeah.
And you do a great job of that.
It's hard to do. So we ask all the authors, have you ever had or do you currently own a black cat?
Not a pure black cat. No. I've got a tuxedo right now. So that's
Close enough.
halfway.
Let's hear about your
Yeah.
tuxedo.
That's Harrow Hark. It doesn't have very many teeth. She's very cranky. She likes to pet me, but she doesn't like if I pet her.
How does she pet you?
Well, sometimes she's just rubbing her head, and then sometimes she takes her paw and she's like, but then
Oh,
when I try to pet her back, she just kind of slips under my hand and melts away somewhere.
sweet.
Yeah.
Love our kitties. We love our kitties.
Yeah, so my first cat, as in like mine, not my family's, was a Maine Coon mix, and I kept him secretly in my dorm room for a semester. Um, and then it turned out after I left that dorm, I moved into apartment, so don't worry, I wasn't keeping this cat in like a small dorm room forever. It turns out that actually most of my flatmates knew I had a cat. I think the RAs also knew I had a cat. That particular dorm building was actually scheduled for demolition the next year, so I guess just nobody cared.
Oh, wow. And
Yeah.
Maine Coons, those are hard to hide, man.
That's what
Those
I
are
was thinking the whole
gigantic
time.
cats.
How do
Yeah,
you hide a cat that big?
he was still growing at the time,
Mm.
so he wasn't so big. And then, yeah, when we moved to an apartment, then he started going outside, and I couldn't stop him. And then he brought home my second cat, and she just showed up and then started hanging around.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome. Love hearing
Yeah.
cat stories. And so anything that we've got to look forward to that new projects that you're working on or things that you hope to be able to accomplish soon?
Yeah, I mean, if I say it here, maybe that manifests it
Let's do
to
it.
be real. So I recently started working on another science fiction piece. I don't know yet if it will be a novel or more of a novella, but it's about an escaped android, and she falls in love with a slightly mutated human. And also, the overlords of the world are alien vampires.
Love.
Yeah, it sounds, a little bit out there maybe, but once it's put down, you get kind of the themes of longing, and then also I'm gonna say something about like the body and blood and cannibalism as a metaphor for desire and romance, the classic kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Classic.
That's why they
Yeah.
put horror right next to romance in the bookstores, because there's a very fine line between the two.
Yeah, bodies, they're really gross, but you also need them.
Right? That's true. So there's elements of some body horror in there.
Yes, if I do it right.
Good. Well, good luck with that. I'm looking forward to seeing that.
And we look forward to telling people that we were your first published work.
Yeah,
When you're making big sci-fi movies, we're like, we were there first.
sure. I'll have to invite you to my first red carpet or something.
Yes,
I would
please.
appreciate that.
That would be great. Well, we can't thank you enough for submitting your awesome story. We're so excited to get more eyeballs on your amazing work, and we can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank you. And thank you for liking my story.
Take care, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.